It started with a ding. I wasn't even paying attention at first. Adam had left his phone on the kitchen counter while he was outside. I had just finished making coffee and was absent-mindedly scrolling through my own phone. But then his phone buzzed again. I wasn't the type to snoop, but my eyes flickered over to it. A notification from a group chat. Family first. That name alone made me smile. But then I saw the message preview. Mom, just keep pretending we love her until she pays for the house repairs. My heart stopped. A wave of nausea hit me as I froze, my fingers tightening around my coffee mug. I had to have read that wrong. Had to. With shaky hands, I picked up his phone, unlocked it. I knew his passcode. He had nothing to hide, or so I thought, and scrolled up. What I saw made my entire body go cold. Mom, she's almost done covering everything. A few more months, and we can finally cut her off.
Dad, good.
Just keep playing along. If she gets suspicious, we're screwed. Adam, relax. She's too desperate for family. She'll never figure it out. Mom, once she's done paying, we'll suggest she move out. She's getting too comfortable here. Desperate for family. My stomach twisted. My breath caught in my throat. I had spent years bending over backward for them. When Mom was hospitalized, I covered the bills. When Adam wanted to go to college, I drained my savings to help. When the house needed repairs after the fire, I worked 2 jobs to pay for it. And all this time, they were just using me. A deep, burning anger settled inside me. I wanted to scream, to storm out and confront them. But then a thought struck me like lightning.
No.
If they wanted to play me like a fool, I would let them believe they were winning. Because when I was done with them, they would have nothing left. I placed Adam's phone exactly where I found it. When he walked back inside, stretching and yawning, I smiled like nothing was wrong. Hey, can you grab me some juice from the fridge? He mumbled, scrolling through his phone. Checking their messages. I watched him from the corner of my eye. He didn't even flinch. Not a second of guilt. I handed him his juice with a soft smile, my stomach churning with rage. They thought I was an idiot?
Fine.
Let them think that. Because from this moment forward, I wasn't just their gullible little paycheck anymore. I was their worst mistake. For the next few weeks, I played my role perfectly. I continued to be the perfect daughter, the perfect sister. When Mom complained about the kitchen tiles needing replacing, I offered to cover it. When Dad sighed about rising electricity costs, I pretended to be concerned. When Adam asked for money for a business investment, I handed him cash without blinking. And they ate it all up. They were so confident, so sure that I was still blindly devoted to them. They didn't realize that behind my smiles, I was destroying them.
1 step at
a time. The first thing I did? Shut down their access to my money. All these years, my salary had been directly deposited into a joint family account. The one they helped themselves to like it was their birthright. Not anymore. I opened a private account, transferred every last cent, and switched my direct deposit. Then I stopped paying the bills. Electricity? Water? Internet? Their responsibility now. They didn't notice at first. Not until the power got cut off. Mom's scream shook the house. What the hell is going on? She shrieked. Dad fumbled with his phone, calling the electric company. I thought it was on autopay. I sipped my tea calmly. Oh, I said innocently. I figured you guys would start covering it since I've been handling it for years. Their faces.
Pure
horror. Adam was the easiest to break. He had never worked a day in his life. He had no savings, no backup plan, nothing. So when he came to me for money, like he always did, I smiled. Sorry, I said. I can't afford to help anymore. He froze. What do you mean? I leaned back, voice soft but cutting. I mean, you're on your own now. He lost it. Yelling, screaming, throwing things. But I just watched him unravel. What they didn't know was that when I took out a loan for the house repairs, I put the deed under my name. They thought they were scamming me, but they had signed everything over to me. So when they tried to guilt trip me, I dropped the bombshell. This house, I said, holding up the official documents. It belongs to me now. Mom went deathly pale. Dad's mouth fell open. Adam stumbled back like he had been shot. No, that can't be. Oh, but it is. I folded my arms. And guess what? You're all being evicted. The silence that followed my announcement was almost deafening. Mom looked like she was trying to process the words, but they just wouldn't click. Dad was gripping the edge of the table, his knuckles turning white. Adam, though, he was the first to explode. You're lying, he snapped, his voice shaking. You're just trying to scare us. There's no way. I pulled out the papers. The official deed. The mortgage statements. The bank transfers. Every single legal document that proved beyond a doubt that the house was mine and had been for a while now. I slid them across the table. Dad hesitated before picking them up, his hands trembling. His eyes darted across the lines, desperately searching for some kind of loophole, some way to prove I was wrong. But he found nothing. His face drained of color. Mom snatched the papers from him next, flipping through them like they might magically change if she looked hard enough. But the truth was right there in black and white. This house?
Mine.
And they had nothing. Adam's eyes widened as realization finally hit him. No, this isn't fair. This can't be happening. I let out a small laugh. Not out of amusement, but out of the sheer satisfaction of watching them fall apart. Not fair. I repeated, leaning forward. You think this isn't fair? I watched as their panic grew, spreading through them like a virus. It was delicious. How many times had I felt this exact helplessness because of them? When Mom took my money, promising to pay me back, but never did. When Dad borrowed my savings for a business venture that never existed. When Adam blew through thousands of dollars partying, knowing I'd cover his rent. I had given them everything, and they had smiled in my face while plotting to throw me out like trash.
Now?
It was their turn to feel powerless. Mom was the first to break. She clutched my arm, her nails digging into my skin, her voice thick with fake concern. Sweetheart, she whispered. You're not really going to do this to your own family, are you? I turned my head slowly to face her. My own family? I let the words sink in. The same family that had spent months pretending to love me just to drain my bank account? The same family that had been counting down the days until they could cut me loose? I had seen their messages. I had seen how they laughed behind my back. And now, she wanted to play the loving mother? I pulled my arm away. You made your choice, I said, my voice eerily calm. Now you live with it. Dad stood up, so fast his chair scraped against the floor. His face was red with rage. This is a joke, he growled. You think you can just kick us out? You wouldn't dare. I tilted my head. Wouldn't I? Silence. I let the question hang in the air, watching their confidence shatter piece by piece. Adam was pacing now, running his hands through his hair like he was on the verge of a panic attack. This isn't real, he muttered. This isn't real. This isn't real. Oh, it's very real, I assured him. And just so we're clear, you have 1 month to pack your things and get out. Mom let out a strangled gasp, her hands flying to her mouth. Dad slammed his fist against the table. You ungrateful little. I held up my hand. I'd be very careful with your next words, I warned, my tone like ice. Dad shut his mouth so fast his teeth clicked.
Good.
For the first time in my entire life, I was the one in control. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. Out of all of them, I knew Adam would break first. He had always been the most spoiled, the most entitled, the one who had never lifted a finger to support himself. So it was no surprise that 3 days later, he was at my bedroom door, looking pathetic. I didn't say anything at first. I just waited. I just wanted to talk, he mumbled, shifting awkwardly. I folded my arms. Talk. He hesitated, then stepped inside. For the first time in his entire life, Adam looked nervous. I know you're mad, he started, but I mean, you don't really want to kick us out, right? I raised an eyebrow. Adam, I said slowly. Did you not plan to kick me out? His face twisted. No. I mean, okay, look, I didn't mean it. Mom and Dad, I cut him off. You didn't mean it? I repeated. So, when you said, she'll never figure it out. She's too desperate for our approval. That was just what? A joke. His mouth snapped shut. I took a slow step toward him. You didn't care how much I sacrificed for this family. You didn't care how much I suffered. As long as you got what you wanted, it was all fine, right? Adam looked down, ashamed. But I wasn't done. I stepped even closer, lowering my voice. So tell me, Adam, why should I care about what happens to you now? Tears welled up in his eyes. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out, because we both knew the answer. I shouldn't. The next day, I met with a real estate agent. The house?
Gone.
Within 2 weeks, I had a cash buyer. Mom and Dad lost it. You can't sell our home, Mom screamed. Dad looked like he was going to have a stroke. But I just smiled. It's not your home, I reminded them. It's mine. The final nail in the coffin? I used part of the money to put a deposit on a beautiful apartment, just for me. The rest? I kept it. For the first time in my entire life, I was living for myself. And it felt incredible. The moment the house went up for sale, my family completely lost their composure. Mom stopped pretending to be the concerned, loving mother. Dad dropped his fake pride. And Adam? He abandoned all self-respect. It was like watching a pack of wolves turn rabid when they realized the meal they had been waiting for was suddenly being taken away. 3 days after the for sale sign went up in the front yard, I woke up to loud banging on my bedroom door. Open the damn door now. Dad. His voice was shaking with barely contained rage. I took my time getting up, stretching as if I hadn't just been jolted awake by his furious pounding. When I finally opened the door, he nearly shoved his way in. You think this is funny? He spat, his face red with fury. I gave him a slow, blank stare. What exactly?
This.
The damn house. The sale. You think you can just throw us out on the street like some piece of trash? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Oh, so you mean like how you planned to throw me out? Dad's nostrils flared. His lips pressed into a thin, angry line. You don't understand, he growled. We were just frustrated. We didn't mean any of it. I let out a sharp laugh. You expect me to believe that? Mom suddenly appeared behind him, tears in her eyes. Sweetheart, please. We're still family. We raised you, took care of you. I held up a finger. Let's get something straight, I said, my voice cold. You didn't raise me. You drained me. I was the one keeping this house together while you sat around and watched. And now? You're out of time. Adam appeared at the end of the hallway, his face pale, arms crossed. He looked tense, like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. I turned to him, arching an eyebrow. Nothing to add, little brother? No smart remarks this time. His jaw clenched. For the first time, he looked scared. I didn't wait for an answer. I stepped back and started closing my bedroom door. You have 3 weeks to get out, I reminded them. Make the most of it. And then, I locked the door in their faces. 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, they tried everything. First, they tried guilt-tripping me. Mom suddenly became sick and needed my help. Dad started reminiscing about better times. Adam even muttered a week. We're still siblings, right? Like that meant anything. I ignored them. Then, they tried intimidation. Dad's voice got sharper. He started muttering threats under his breath. You think you're so damn smart, huh? Wait till life slaps you in the face. You'll come crawling back. Mom started slamming doors just to make noise, making the house feel tense and hostile. Adam just looked lost. They were crumbling. And I felt stronger than ever. Moving day. I packed my bags silently. Everything I owned, everything I had worked for, was coming with me. Mom sat on the couch, watching helplessly as I carried box after box toward the door. Dad? He was nowhere to be seen. Adam sat on the stairs, his head in his hands. I paused, looking at him. Something you want to say? I asked. He swallowed hard. I messed up. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, you did. He sighed. I didn't mean it, you know. I mean, I was stupid. I thought we were going to be fine. that things would always just work out. You thought I'd always be your safety net, I corrected. He didn't deny it. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered every single time I had gone to bed crying, exhausted, and broke, wondering how I was going to pay for everything. And I kept walking. As I reached the door, Mom suddenly jumped up. "Wait," she gasped, rushing over. I stiffened, bracing myself. She looked at me, her eyes glossy, with unshed tears. "We're your family," she whispered. "Don't do this." I looked her straight in the eye. "You stopped being my family the moment you decided I was just a paycheck." Her face crumbled. I turned around and walked out without another word. The moment I stepped outside, the air felt lighter. For the first time in years, I was free. The sale of the house went through the following week. The day my parents had to officially leave, I got a message from Dad. "Dad, you'll regret this." I didn't respond. I blocked his number. Mom tried calling next. I let it ring. Then, I blocked her too. Adam was the last to try. "Adam, if I ever get my life together, do you think we could ever be real siblings again?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I sighed and left it on read. Without them draining me dry, I finally had the freedom to focus on myself. I got a beautiful apartment in the city. I started saving for myself, not for them. I surrounded myself with people who actually cared. And my parents? Last I heard, they were living in a tiny rundown rental, barely scraping by. Karma? Karma was a beautiful thing. Months passed. One day, I got an email from Mom. "Mom, we need your help.
Can we talk?"
I stared at it for a long moment. Then, I deleted it. No response. No hesitation. They had made their choice. Now, they could live with it. I refused to let their mistakes define me. I had spent my whole life trying to earn their love.
Now?
I loved myself enough to walk away. I would never again let someone use me. Never again would I beg for scraps of affection. I had learned my worth, and this time, I wasn't giving anyone the chance to take advantage of me again. I never looked back. Not once. Because for the first time in my entire life, I was living for me, and it felt damn good. The clinking of silverware and the hum of polite laughter filled the long oak dining table as my father stood, raising his glass with a self-satisfied grin. "Tonight," he began, voice booming with pride, "we celebrate our real daughter, the successful one. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin." The room erupted in applause. My mother dabbed her eyes with a napkin, pretending to be emotional. My sister, Emily, gave a modest little smile, basking in the glow of their approval. I sat at the far end, silent, the weight of his words cutting sharper than the crystal knives on the table. "Dad," Emily said, laughing softly, "you don't have to say that." He smirked. "Oh, I do. The world needs to know the difference between ambition and, well, wasted potential." His eyes slid toward me like daggers. Everyone followed his gaze. I could feel the heat of it on my skin, the unspoken judgment, the failure, the disappointment, the one who married below her worth. My husband, Ryan, sat beside me, calm, composed, his hand resting lightly on my knee beneath the table. His tailored suit didn't scream wealth, but his confidence carried a quiet kind of authority that no one in that room recognized yet. Emily leaned forward. "You're still, what is it you do again?" "Freelancing." A few stifled laughs followed. I forced a smile. "Something like that." She nodded, smug. "Well, we can't all be vice presidents of Parker and Holt, right?" My father chuckled, tapping her glass.
"Exactly.
"You've made this family proud, Emily. You've earned your place." My mother looked at me for a moment, then quickly looked away. That glance, pity mixed with embarrassment, was worse than words. Ryan leaned in, his voice low, calm, dangerous. "You sure you want to sit through this?" I met his eyes and smiled faintly. Oh, I want to see how far they'll go. The waiter arrived with champagne. Dad lifted his glass again. To Emily, he declared, and to the company that made her who she is. Everyone cheered. Except Ryan. Except me. The sound of laughter swirled around like static, dull, meaningless. I could feel the bitterness rising in my chest, the memories flashing back, years of being compared, dismissed, replaced. I'd been the daughter who painted her dreams, who failed once and was never forgiven for it. Emily had always been the golden child. Perfect hair, perfect job, perfect parents' pride. But perfection has a shelf life. Ryan's hand tightened around mine under the table. His lips brushed my ear, barely a whisper. Time to tell them we bought their company. For a second, I froze. The room blurred. Forks clinked. My father laughed at something Emily said about corporate success. Then I turned to him, my voice steady, almost sweet.
Dad.
He looked at me mid-sip. Funny thing about Parker and Holt, I said. It changed ownership last week. The laughter died instantly. He frowned. What are you talking about? Ryan leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. She's saying we bought it. Every share. Every asset. The air turned heavy. My sister blinked, confusion flickering into disbelief. You're lying. Ryan smiled slightly. You'll find out Monday morning at your board meeting. We'll be there. My father's glass hit the table with a thud. You what? I sat back, my pulse calm now. You said you were proud of your real daughter. You should be careful who you call real, Dad. Turns out, the one you overlooked just signed your paycheck. The silence that followed wasn't just awkward, it was poetic. Ryan reached for his champagne, his tone casual. To family, no one lifted their glass. But for the first time in my life, I didn't need them to. The next morning, the echo of last night's silence still clung to me like smoke. My phone buzzed nonstop, missed calls from my father, a few unread texts from my sister. Ryan glanced over his coffee mug, expression unreadable. They'll come, he said quietly. People like that always do. Pride doesn't let them stay quiet. Right on cue, the front gate camera chimed. My father's black SUV rolled up the driveway, followed by Emily's sleek white coupe. I could already imagine the storm that was about to walk through our front door. Ryan didn't flinch. He simply adjusted his tie, calm and deliberate, as if this was just another business meeting. The doorbell rang once, hard. When I opened the door, my father stood there, red-faced, clutching a stack of papers. You think this is funny? He barked. You walk into my home, humiliate me in front of everyone, and now you're spreading lies? Lies? I asked, stepping aside. Come in. Let's discuss it calmly. Emily brushed past me, her perfume sharp and expensive. Dad, don't waste your time. There's no way they bought Parker and Holt. The board would have told me. Ryan leaned against the counter, unbothered. Actually, they did. Check your email. She scoffed but pulled out her phone anyway. The moment her eyes scanned the screen, the color drained from her face. The subject line read, Ownership Transfer Notice, Parker and Holt Enterprises. Her voice cracked. This can't be real. It's very real, Ryan said smoothly. The previous chairman was retiring. We offered a buyout he couldn't refuse. You'd be surprised how many doors open when you treat people decently. My father turned to me, voice shaking with fury. You planned this behind my back. I met his gaze. You made sure I had nothing left to lose, remember? You laughed when my small design startup failed. You said I'd never understand business. So I learned. Quietly. Efficiently. He slammed the folder on the counter. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said, my tone steady. It makes me free. Emily rounded on me, tears brimming. You couldn't stand that I finally made them proud. So you had to ruin everything. Ruin. I cut her off. You spent years treating me like your personal punchline. You and Dad built a wall between us the moment success came knocking for you. You didn't want family. You wanted an audience. Ryan stepped forward then, his voice calm but cutting. For what it's worth, Emily, we didn't buy the company to ruin you. We bought it to rebuild what your father almost destroyed with arrogance and favoritism. My father's jaw tightened. You don't talk to me like that. Ryan didn't raise his voice. You've spent your life confusing fear with respect. That ends now. The room went still. I looked at my father, the man who once told me that dreams don't pay bills, that love was weakness, that my worth was tied to how useful I was to him. For the first time, I didn't see power. I saw panic. Dad, I said quietly, I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to show you what happens when you underestimate someone who refuses to stay small. He stared at me for a long time, eyes flicking between the contract papers and my face. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out. Emily followed, but not before whispering, You'll regret this. When the door slammed shut, the silence felt heavier than before, but this time, it wasn't suffocating. It was clean. Ryan slipped an arm around my waist. You handled that perfectly. I exhaled slowly, watching their cars disappear down the street. It's strange, I said, voice trembling just slightly, how peace doesn't always feel peaceful at first. He smiled. Give it time. Tomorrow's the board meeting. That's when the real storm begins. The boardroom buzzed with quiet tension. Glass walls overlooked the city skyline, the morning sun slicing through steel and shadow. The company logo, Parker and Holt, gleamed on the far wall, but today it no longer belonged to my father or sister. Ryan and I walked in together, hand in hand. The board members, all in crisp suits, turned toward us with cautious curiosity. Some smiled politely. Others avoided eye contact. They'd already received the official notice. Ownership had changed hands. At the end of the long mahogany table sat my father and Emily. He looked furious. She looked desperate. Both were clinging to the illusion of control. Ryan broke the silence first. Good morning, everyone. As of last Friday, my wife and I are the majority shareholders of Parker and Holt. We appreciate your time. Emily slammed her pen down. You can't just waltz in here and act like you own the place. Ryan raised an eyebrow. We don't act like we own it, Emily. We actually do. Laughter rippled quietly through the room. A few executives shifted uncomfortably, hiding smiles. My father's glare could have burned through stone. He rose to his feet, voice booming. You don't understand what you've done. This company isn't a game. It's taken me 30 years to build. I looked at him evenly. 30 years of hiring your favorites, promoting your daughter, and running others into the ground. You built an empire on humiliation, Dad. I'm just here to clean up the mess. He took a step forward, his tone low and venomous. You think you can run a corporation? You couldn't even run your own life. Ryan stood beside me, his tone steady as a blade. She rebuilt her life from nothing. That's more than you've ever done. Emily turned toward the board, voice trembling. You all know me. You know I've kept this company profitable. Are you really going to let some outsider come in and take over everything? The CFO cleared his throat. Actually, Emily, with all due respect, the company's profits have dropped for 3 consecutive quarters. Her face went pale. What? I leaned forward slightly, resting my hands on the table. I know. Because I've been watching from the outside for a long time. You spent money on luxury offices, bonuses for your friends, and left your employees underpaid. That ends today. My father clenched his fists. So what now? You'll fire us? I hesitated, then said calmly, No, I'm not you. The room went quiet again. Even Ryan looked at me, surprised but proud. I don't need to humiliate you, I continued. You'll stay as consultants. For 6 months. Enough time to teach the next generation how not to destroy a company from the inside out. Emily's voice broke. You're doing this to hurt me. No, I said softly. I'm doing this so you finally understand what it feels like to be on the other side of someone's arrogance. My father sank slowly back into his chair, silent now. The weight of what he'd lost seemed to crash down all at once. Ryan addressed the board again, calm and composed. Effective immediately, there will be a restructuring plan. New priorities, fair pay, employee safety, and ethical management. My wife will lead the transition. Applause filled the room, hesitant at first, then stronger, like everyone had been waiting years for this moment. As I looked around, something inside me settled. Not triumph, but peace. For years, I dreamed of proving them wrong. But now that I'd done it, I realized I didn't need their approval. I just needed to finally stop chasing it. When the meeting ended, I walked past my father without a word. He didn't look up. Emily sat frozen, staring at her phone, scrolling through messages from coworkers who'd already shifted their loyalty. Ryan opened the door for me. "You okay?" he asked. I smiled faintly. Better than I've ever been. We stepped into the sunlight. For once, it didn't feel harsh. It felt earned. 2 weeks later, the headlines were everywhere. New leadership at Parker and Holt promises reform. Female owner brings humanity back to business. Reporters called nonstop. Investors returned. Employees smiled again in the hallways. But success doesn't silence jealousy.
It amplifies it.
That night, as the city lights blinked beyond our penthouse window, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it until I heard the voice. "Congratulations, sis," Emily said, the words dripping with bitterness. "You really think they love you? The board, the staff, the media? You'll fall just like before. And when you do, I'll be there to remind everyone who the real heir is." I sighed softly. "You're exhausting yourself, Emily. Try enjoying peace for once." "You took my life," she hissed. "My position, my respect." "No," I interrupted, calm but firm. "You lost them. All I did was stop pretending you deserve them." She hung up. Ryan looked up from his laptop. "Trouble. Just old ghosts trying to stay relevant," I murmured, placing my phone face down. But I should have known Emily wasn't done. The next morning, my assistant burst into my office, pale. "Ma'am, you need to see this." She handed me a tablet. A video played, a false news clip accusing me of fraud, claiming the buyout was illegal. It was a lie, carefully edited, and spread across every major social platform. Ryan entered moments later, jaw tight. She did it. I felt my pulse steady, not from panic, but from resolve. "Then we'll handle it the right way." By noon, I called an emergency press conference. Cameras flashed as I walked in, head high, voice calm. False narratives spread fast when truth threatens fragile egos. I began. But facts move louder than rumors. I displayed proof of every transaction, every legal clearance, every signed agreement. The audience watched as the truth unfolded live. Documents, timestamps, and even a clip of the former chairman himself saying, "It was her integrity that convinced me to sell." Reporters murmured. Cameras clicked like thunder. And then, right in the back of the crowd, I saw her, Emily, in sunglasses and a trembling jaw. I didn't flinch. "Family can be complicated," I said, letting the words hang in the air. "But family also teaches us the cost of pride. This company isn't about revenge. It's about rebuilding something honest." The room erupted in applause. Emily turned and slipped out before the cameras caught her face. Afterward, when I stepped outside, the air felt lighter. Ryan met me on the steps, his smile quiet but full. "You didn't just win," he said. "You transformed." I looked up at the skyline, the same city that once chewed me up and laughed at my failure. "Funny," I whispered. "I used to think success meant beating them. Now I realize it means never becoming them." That evening, as we sat on the balcony, Ryan handed me a small velvet box. Inside wasn't jewelry, it was a key. "A new building," he said. "For your own company. One that carries your name. You've earned that." My chest tightened. Not from pride, but from something softer. "And what about Parker and Holt?" He smiled. "You saved it. Now, let it stand on its own. You don't need their shadow anymore." For a long moment, I looked out over the city, 1,000 windows glowing against the night. Each one reminded me of a lesson learned the hard way, that silence can be power, Kindness can be sharper than revenge, and walking away can be the loudest victory of all. I turned to Ryan, my voice steady, full of quiet strength. Let's build something better, something that never forgets where it came from. He nodded.
Together.
The city lights flickered below as the wind shifted. Gentle, clean, final. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free.